Before there was King Arthur Pendragon, King of the Britons. Before there were knights of the Table Round. Before there was the Kingdom of Camelot. There was a boy. A boy that was born a bastard child of King Uther Pendragon and Duchess Igraine. A boy that was taken away by Merlin's hand for his own interaction with King Uther. A boy that was raised by a knight named Sir Ector. And a boy that was destined to be king. But our story doesn't start as one would expect. There were no sires, no ancient prophecies, no one running with scrolls of pedigree to read to young Arthur. No, there was a sword in a stone in the courtyard of a church. And it wasn't until a fateful New Year's Day that sword would be removed from its stone. But before that, a bit of context. You see, Sir Ector and his biological son, Sir Kay, were attending a jousting tournament on New Year's Day. Having left the chapel for their services and preparing to intermingle, Sir Kay realized he lost his sword. Lost, not quite. Left behind is more accurate, having left it back at their estate. He looked to Arthur, his brother, who was attending with them, and asked him kindly to rush home and find the blade. To which Arthur agreed. Hurrying on horseback, he returned to the estate, but found it locked and empty. All the maids and ladies of the house had gone out to see the jousting. But Arthur, knowing that he could not go in to retrieve the blade, merely thought back to the courtyard, and the sword that rested in the anvil and the stone. The sword that so many had tried to pull free. The sword that claimed whoever pulled it free would become King of England. And he wanted it. Not because he wished to become king, but because his brother needed a sword. So thusly Arthur hurried to that courtyard, riding on horseback with all of the speed that he could muster. And when he got there, he walked in the tent. Normally there were knights and squires around who had tried and failed to pull the blade free. But here, on this New Year's Day, it was empty. Everyone was at the jousting conference. So he walked over, and with a quick grasp of his hands, and a quick pull, gently, I may add, he drew the legendary blade from the stone. The selecting sword had been freed, but he took no moment to realize that. No, instead he slid it in a scabbard, rebored his horse, and headed to the field where the tournament would be held. And quickly, he drew the blade again, and handed it to Kay upon getting to him. And Kay knew. Boy, did Kay know. He had tried to pull the sword free in the past, and the selecting sword was not for him. Needless to say, he called his father over, and Ector asked Arthur, "Who exactly drew this sword from the stone? Who gave it to you?" Arthur replied with a very simple, I drew it myself, but... Once more, there was disbelief, as Sir Ector once more asked, "Who gave you this sword? Was there anyone around to see it?" And Arthur once more replied, Not really. I was all alone." And with that, Sir Ector, believing Arthur could perhaps be this legendary king, took Kay and Arthur with him back to the tent, back to the stone, and he gave Arthur the sword yet again, and Arthur placed it back in the stone. But to prove there was no fluke involved, no hidden knight, no magic or trickery, Ector walked over and tried to pull the blade free, and failed. Yet Arthur walked over, and with greater ease than when he first drew it, he pulled it from the stone again. Yet Ector still did not believe him. Several more times this song and dance was given over and over and over again, and each time the only person to draw the blade was Arthur himself. And then those words resonated. They resonated with Ector. They resonated with Kay, and all of the other barons and knights that had gathered in the days and hours that followed. "Whoso pulleth out this sword from the stone is rightwise king of all England." Those words resounding in their mind, they realized exactly who was before them. This boy, Arthur. He was the boy that was going to be king. And thus, they whisked him away, hurriedly to be blessed and placed on the throne where he rightfully belonged. And there, many adventures spurned forth, heroes in their own right coming to become knights, wars and battles, clashings of magic and beast. But those are all story for a different day. So stay curious, my friends. And if you see a sword in the stone, feel free to try to pull it. You never know. Until next time.